Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to the Art Center area. We are here this morning to celebrate the revitalization of a building that has been vacant for many years. At this time, I'd like to bring forth the administrator of the Art Center District Council, Mr. Wright Mitchell.
I'd like to say good morning to everyone. On behalf of the Art Center Citizens District Council, we'd like to welcome you to Art Center. And this is really a great day for Art Center because we're saving a building that at one time was going to be demolished. So we're very elated to save this building. And again, I'd like to thank you for coming out to join us at a time of happiness in the Art Center area. Thank you.
At this time, many community residents and people who live in the area or work in the area have heard that the building is going to be rehabbed. Everyone wants to know, well, who's doing it? The name of the company is Buxton Management Company, and at this time, I'd like to bring up their president, Mr. Robert Rhue.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, especially to the Honorable Coleman Young. As president of Buxton Management Company, I'd like to introduce the other officers in Buxton Management Company. Mr. James Kennard, our executive vice president. Then Mrs. Louise Perry, our secretary treasurer. A lot of people in the community have asked us, where did Buxton come from? Where did the name Buxton come from? It came from a town that's only 60 miles from here up in North Buxton, Ontario, Canada. In 1850, the Governor General of Canada set aside land for slaves that escaped from this country and settled in North Buxton. My great-grandfather, William Rhue, was one of those slaves. When they got to Buxton, it was nothing but a dense forest with wild animals like bears and cougars there. But they came together as free men, cleared the land, made homes for all their families. This embodies the idea of Buxton Management Company. We believe in this city, we live in this city, and we love this city. For building a better Detroit, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to bring forth a gentleman who has been in this area for years, who has watched the progress, who has been supportive to all residents in this area. He's going to give us a history of 457 East Kirby. Mr. Hilanius Phillips.
Thank you. Good morning, friends and residents of the Art Center area and our Honorable Mayor and Senator Holmes. I have been, as indicated, a friend of the neighborhood. I was also called a historian, and I want to take issue with that title. I'm not a historian. To me, there's a difference between his story, spelled H-I-S-S-T-O-R-Y, and our story, O-U-R-S-T-O-R-Y, and the story, T-H-E-S-T-O-R-Y. My concern is that the story is not the story because his story does not include our story. And my efforts in this community and as a quote-unquote historian has been primarily to deal with our story, and not so much through books, but through brick and mortar. Because it's one thing to talk about what went on down in the Black Bottom community, but when you go down to the Black Bottom community, all you see is a freeway. Our kids have to be able to relate in brick and mortar to what the contributions were made by our people. And in this community, everywhere you look, there is some physical evidence of what black people accomplished in the city of Detroit. And what's so great about Detroit is most of the accomplishments that were made by blacks in Detroit were the first done nationally, because Detroit is a first for blacks in contributions to this country and in developing a powerful middle class. If you don't believe me, the first black radio station, less than a quarter mile to the south of us. The first black television channel, a little bit farther, but down on Jefferson, but in Detroit also. And our mayor may have not been the first black mayor in the country, but I think he's been around longer than most of the other ones. So our concern here today is to look at a building that represented, I'm sorry about that, I'll give him a clap too. Okay, my concern has been, as a planner for this area and a preserver of our story, my concern has been to save as many buildings as possible so that we can document them, put a plaque in front so the generations to come and the ones that are here will have something to look at and something with pride and something to say that, yes, the building over to our left here, the Afro-American Museum, has a lot of purpose for being where it is, and that there's physical evidence as well as what's in their archives right within a stone's throw of that museum, so that when the kids come to the museum, they can also take a walk down Frederick Street and see the first black hospital, which is a national monument now. See my grandmother's building when it gets repaired, the Bertha Hansberry School. See the Detroit Associations of Women's Clubs building, which is one block over into the north. And see the whole Ferry Street from this block to Woodward that has been designated. And in the near future, see the Great Lakes Mutual Life Insurance building. That was one of the buildings that was purchased by the insurance company as an investment in 1944. And it was in the 40s and 50s what 1300 Lafayette Park was maybe 10 years ago. It was where all the hotsy-totsy people who were hotsy-totsy because they deserved to be hotsy-totsy. They had the credentials, they had the businesses, and they worked in the black community, and they lived in the big house over there. Joe Lewis lived there. His manager, Mr. Roxborough. Jesse Slayton, a judge, lived there. Howard Sims was born there, the architect. His family lived there. And one of the first black engineers, Mr. Forrest Young, also lived in the building. And I just saw so many names, I don't know them all, and I'm not going to research that much, but I do know that building is our history, and it's great that the community fought to save it, because a bulldozer actually got right in front of that building, and the community came out and said, no way. And the people that live on this block, they have watched the kids. If the kids threw a rock, they said, you're throwing a rock at our history. We want that building rehabbed. It may take a while. The building may look bad right now, but the city has a program, and eventually that program's going to work. Eventually we're going to convince people to reinvest in the city of Detroit. And when you talk about downtown, downtown has a spinoff, and this is close to downtown, and I want to live close to downtown. I may not be able to afford right downtown, but this is good enough for me. I got a studio right over there, and I plan on staying there. Now, I know I've talked enough on that one, but I would like for you to all see the exhibit at 609 East Kirby. It's a 25th anniversary memorial pamphlet that was put out by the Great Lakes Mutual Life Insurance, and it shows the resumes of the people who were involved in finding that company, and it shows just how many people were employed. And you talk about black enterprise and how it's kind of left the city. Back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and even the lower 50s, it was happening here. And if you just read a little bit of the resumes about these people and what they believed in, it's time to listen to what they had to say again, because it's a cycle. Whatever you gain, they take away in 20 years. And you know they're taking it away now. And the only way to get it back is to know how we got it in the first place. And that's why you need to know your history, and you need to know what those contributions were made by those people who lived in this area, and then bring those concepts close to your bosom and put your fist back up again and march right on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. At this time, I'd like to bring forward Mr. Ken Roberts, who is acting as the consultant for Buxton Management Company, and he will bring forth the concept of the building. Mr. Roberts?
Thank you. I think this is an effort that we're trying to make here to reverse what the Detroit Free Press called the Detroit reckless abandonment of real estate. We joined forces with Buxton Management Company about a year ago to come up with a concept to renovate properties that have been abandoned and vacant in the city of Detroit. And we decided to form the partnership with the community, with the City of Detroit's Economic Development Department, through their rental rehab department, to put together some numbers to see if a project like this could work. We found out, basically through the rental rehab program, that we could convert an existing 42-unit building into 30 units, and by using some programs from the block grant program, some funds from the block grant program, and some funds from the rental rehab program, we can make a combination of providing affordable housing by reducing the rents with loans and grants and a low interest loan. The numbers worked. When we first looked at the building, we thought it was almost impossible based upon the condition that it was in. But by converting it from a 42-unit building to a 30-unit building and changing the structure from efficiencies to 1 and 2 bedroom units, with 21 2-bedroom units, with up to 1,300 square feet of living space and 2 bedroom units that would rent for under $425 a month, plus 1 bedroom units that would rent for about $331 a month. And this is without subsidies, or what we used to call the Section 8 program. So we're truly making this affordable housing. And this is just a demonstration of what can happen throughout the city. With the joint effort between the community, the city, and private industries, what we call the partnership, we can reverse the deterioration of housing throughout the city with the same concept. The banks have come forward and said that they can put $40 million in the city. The State Housing Authority has made a commitment with $125 million in their new bond issue, and the block grant money is still alive. And I think the mayor has done a fantastic job in bringing all this money into the community. And with all these resources, I think right now that we can reverse the trend of deteriorated housing and begin to finance some of the housing and turn around some of these vacant buildings. As the Free Press said, there were 15,000 vacant buildings in the city of Detroit. 6,200 of them, they said, were capable of being renovated. They were secured and feasible. There's enough money in this community to do the job. The only thing we need is a joint effort, similar to the one we have here, and we can revitalize the whole city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. At this time, I'd like to bring forth Senator David S. Holmes. Senator has been in our area for countless years. His office was once located on East Kirby, and when we notified him that the building at 457 would be rehabbed, he was pleased and happy to come forth and give a few remarks. Senator David S. Holmes.
Well, thank you, Ms. Holloway. Better known to me as Jackie. It gives me an honor to get a chance to get back home to the district here and to fraternize with so many of you that set me off trotting some years ago to Lansing to represent you. I'm still there trying to represent you. And I might say, it also gives me a chance just to review in my mind those of us that have been around in Detroit for some time that migrated up from Black Bottom Coleman. And so you youngsters that don't understand, when we first came here to Detroit, this part of Detroit was off limit to us. I never will forget that first when I stepped foot in Detroit, one of the first things I did was to walk from Black Bottom up to Midbury on Hastings Street, because worldwide, United States wise, everybody knew about Hastings Street and what it stood for. And at that time, while you walked up Hastings Street, if you got on this side of Hastings Street, or better still, St. Adwine, you were subject to get stopped, especially at night, by the policeman to find out what you were doing in that particular area. I thought so much of this area. When I became the senator of this area, I located my district office, one of the two offices in Michigan that senators put an office in the district. It was located right over there in that house there. And I kept that office there for some odd 10 years, and the reason for it, I realized that the people in our district didn't have money to come back and forth to Lansing, so if you can't get to Lansing, then I bought the office here. And I have enjoyed, I've seen this building here turn over. This is the third turnover. I've seen it when white folks turned it over to us. I've seen the bourgeois of the black community get in it, and we were proud that we were able to take the building and move into it. And I've seen it deteriorated. Now I see the third generation coming along to rehab it, and I look for it to be a milestone in the comeback. Now I presume that I am supposed to introduce our great mayor, and I don't think I have to introduce him. All of you know him. And I might say, Coleman, there's some question of whether you're going to run again. I'm for one to say that, hell yes, you're going to run again. You're going to do a damn good job. Can I hear it? Because Coleman has done more for this city than any mayor that I know, and I'm going back to the 30s. And there's a lot more to be done. That is, if we get behind him, and if the community, which he helped as well as I to set up the district council, and there's a story behind that. I won't take this time to tell you, but when we set the district councils up in this city, this is what it's all about. The district council was to advise and help the administration to do what is best for that particular community where that district council is. There's 22 of them, I think. Half of the district council is appointed by the mayor and the other half is elected by the community. And this is what you call democracy in work, and I look forward to this building being one of the jewels of this Arts Center District Council. With that, I will present to you the mayor of the city of Detroit. Let's give him a big hand.
Thank you very much, Dave. Senator Holmes. Now, I would be the last one to argue with Dave Holmes. If Dave Holmes says I'm going to run, I guess I'm going to run. But I'm happy to be here today to join you. It's probably as beautiful a day as we've seen this year. It's perfect. The breeze is blowing, it's not too hot. Perfect summer day. And it's a perfect day for us to get together and look around us. In spite of the widespread abandonment that's been heralded in the newspapers of the city of Detroit, if you look around you, it's very evident that there's still a hell of a lot left. And it's sound. The buildings on all sides of us here, including the old Great Lakes building, are structurally sound and can be rebuilt. They're good for another 40, 50 years at least. We in this country, more than any country anywhere in the world, have a habit of tearing down as an expression of progress. We have no respect for history, or for that matter, our story, or even the story. In Europe, in Asia, it is not uncommon to see buildings 200-300 years old, still in use. We have some structurally sound buildings, and Great Lakes building is one of those. I remember, as a young man, I once worked as an insurance salesman for Great Lakes Insurance Company. And I remember when Great Lakes went in to this building, and it was a very select building at that time. This was a very select area. This is still a very select area. It is beginning to rebuild. To our left, we see, as has been noted, the newly established African American History Museum. That's the largest and best African American History Museum in the country. And it's still growing. It sits in a complex alongside other cultural institutions. The Detroit Institute of Arts, the Children's Museum, the Science Museum, etc. That area will expand. But at the same time, Great Lakes building is the mark of a new beginning. Sure, I read the Free Press stories. I think they exaggerated. I don't know how you can give 3 reporters a tank full of gas and send them out and tell them to ride up and down the streets 3 days and count. And all of a sudden they come up with an accurate count. They become instant experts. They tell you how it was done and how to do it and how you're going to do it. And you were indicating that while they were riding past these buildings, they decided which ones could be rehabbed and which ones could not, never having once left the seated automobile. Now, I wish we in the city had that much brains and that degree of expertise. If all you have to do is stand where I'm standing and indicate that that building there can be rehabilitated and that one cannot, etc., 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 how easy it would be. It's not quite that easy. It's done in the way that Buxton Management proposes to do Great Lakes. First you look at a building, then you look in the building, you get engineering reports on the building, you do a market study to determine whether or not there's a potential market out there, and after you've done all that, what you need is some money to do all the things that need to be done. It's a laborious process, but it can be done. And the fact that it is being done here, I think it's a good example of what can happen in Detroit. We need more people in Detroit who are prepared to follow the example of Buxton Management and rebuild our city than those in the neighborhoods who on their own would become volunteer demolition crews at the risk of their own health and safety, the health and safety of their children and their neighbors, start tearing down on their own. And we certainly don't need these people who violate the law and endanger the public health to be encouraged by a newspaper or a TV station or a TV anchorman. You want me to be more specific? Yeah, Bill Bond, somebody said that, yeah. This is the answer. The rebuilding of this city is not a simplistic, jingoistic thing, subject to headlines and lead stories on the evening news. Now, I did not know that I was Father of the Year until Bill Bonds so designated me. Now, I think that's going a little bit beyond his authority as anchorman on Channel 7, if he will not talk about my qualifications as a father, I will not talk about his. Because I don't play that. But I didn't come here to talk about Bill Barney or the Detroit Free Press. I came here to talk about rebuilding our city in general and this community in particular. I think that what we have going on here is very symbolic of what's going on around this city and what must go on at an increasing pace. Not easy. It takes some effort. It takes some cooperation. It takes some determination, and it takes some unity. I think we've displayed all of that. So I want to congratulate those who have conceived the idea of rebuilding the Great Lakes building. That's the first step. There are many other buildings in this area that are capable of rebuilding. Ferry Street was mentioned as another historic street in this area. As you know, just to the south of the cultural center, we have the medical center. What we have to our left is a cultural, medical, educational center, the likes of which you don't find anywhere in the world, right together. We are enlarging the medical center with the building of a new veterans hospital that will be built just to the east and south of Harper Hospital. And just below that, going from Mack south to Vernon Highway, or what is now the Fisher Expressway, and going from Woodward east to Bobian, a new town in town. New housing consisting of low income and moderate income housing is about to begin that will supplement the rehabilitation of housing in Brewster Project. So the city is rebuilt brick by brick, block by block, by your efforts and my efforts and your neighbors' efforts. We will do it, we can do it, and we are in the process of doing it. I want to thank you and congratulate you on this important first step. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's give him a round of applause. As the mayor had indicated earlier, there are a lot of individuals that will be assisting in the rehabilitation of this building. I'd like to bring back Mr. Ken Roberts so that he can introduce the other team players. Mr. Roberts?
It took a lot of effort to put this deal together, and a lot of pain and a lot of midnights were spent. The architect was Mark English and Associates. Would you stand, Mark? The general contractor, Joe Walker. Original Construction Company, Joe, and he's in the back there. The engineering was done by Charles Scales. Is he around? Or anybody from his office? There's his daughter.